Doing well. Let's have a fun hour. And we're going to have Ryan join us. That's right. Ryan in Sactown. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. How you doing, Napes?
Good, man. Been a good week. Rolling right along. And we got NFL preseason games this weekend. Everyone's playing, which is good. Not good if you get injuries. I don't think you'll see a lot of the starters for teams, but that just means we're getting that much closer. So I'm ready to roll.
I'm ready to roll too, Grant. We got 2 football games tonight. That's one more than last week, so let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. And we already got Cody talking about Tampa and a touchdown. Good job there, Cody, keeping us up to date on everything, buddy. We love it.
Cody's the
Absolutely
man.
love it. Cody's unbelievable, man. He's all over it, So
He's great.
that division's wide open. I mean, when you look at that division, New Orleans might be the team to beat. I mean, but I don't, if they are, it's by a whisker. I mean, don't know about Carolina, Atlanta with a young quarterback, Tampa. I mean, that division to me is the one that is very open. I almost look at it similarly to last year in the AFC South, where we thought it was pretty much wide open, but most people had Tennessee, and then Jacksonville came out of nowhere, and
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence, and now that Urban Meyer was gone, and they had a coach that had been there before, and they really had a heck of a season. And now all of a sudden, I think you look at the AFC South, and most people think Jacksonville's the team to beat.
Yeah, they do. And it's going to come down to the quarterback play, as does most things in the NFL, right? Is Bryce Young going to step up and be that star for Carolina? Trevor Lawrence, does he take that next step? But I think it could be a really exciting division to watch. Does Derek Carr find his new home and settle in nicely with New Orleans? But keep your eye on the South for sure.
All right. Cody's saying he's just excited. He didn't think Tampa was playing. No, I thought maybe he was watching training camp video. I didn't, I was just thought Cody was just excited because he saw a touchdown by someone. That's all good. So, you and I went over this, the last week when we were doing the show. It really does come down to quarterback play. I mean, I think when you look at our teams that we root for, both of our quarterbacks were outstanding last year. Geno Smith for Seattle and Daniel Jones for the Giants. I mean, they're the main reason why those teams ended up making the playoffs. They both had very solid years.
Yeah, and you look at the support around specifically Daniel Jones with Saquon, some of your young receiver, his name escapes me right now, and your defense, very talented. Yep. So they've got the building blocks in place. Seattle, look, when Russell Wilson was there was a certain type of offense that had to be played for Russell Wilson. You had certain type of skilled players. You had to have a certain type of running back, and it took Seattle a little bit to snap out of that. And now they've kind of retooled in some of those positions and have veterans at some of the skilled positions, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. So really no excuse for either guy, I think, this year coming into.
We got this from Ace. Did the NBA schedule get out? No, but they had a couple of leaks, such as Christmas Day, and someone was saying, how do you feel about the Kings not getting a Christmas game? I really thought they would this year. I thought with their exciting style of basketball, I really thought they would. I did not see the list yet. Have you seen it? I have not.
I have not.
So I'm trying to look as we're talking. I had not seen the fact that they didn't get a Christmas Day game, but again, I thought they would be one of the teams. I thought really a perfect Christmas Day game this year would have been Sacramento and Golden State based on what we saw in the playoffs and based on the proximity, and it wouldn't be that big of an inconvenience for players and coaches celebrating Christmas. But,
Yeah, spot on. And talk about a way to bring, and I think Sacramento came back on the map last year, but to really bring them back on the map on a national stage, to have a Christmas Day game. And with the proximity, as you mentioned, it is a bit surprising. The only thing that sorry, my audio.
Yeah.
You got me?
Yeah. Okay. I got you. You're coming in and out, but I got you.
Okay. Shams reported that I believe it's the Lakers and Nuggets on opening night, but I saw nothing else about Christmas Day.
Yeah. I haven't seen Christmas either. So if you don't mind me asking, Ace, where are you getting that information from? Because I haven't really seen that yet. Manny says, I am a Cowboys fan. Any chance that Dak can turn it around make it or break it season. Well, there's always a chance, but I think at this point in a career, you are who you are. And so for that reason, I would say no, I don't expect him to be at that next level. I don't think he's that good. That's my opinion on him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I mean, especially Zach Martin. As far as I know, he's not reported to camp yet, and they haven't restructured the deal for him. But Dak, he is what he is at this point. I mean, he has a very high interception rate, especially last year.
Yep.
So the pressure of the world's on him, and he's coming into a contract year as well. I believe this is his last
That's
year right now with Dallas.
Well, here's the deal. It's the last year of guaranteed money. I don't have a problem necessarily with quarterbacks throwing interceptions. I have a problem when they throw the interceptions. All right. And Dak always seems to throw the one that's a momentum changer or at a critical time. So that's what concerns me, his decision making at critical junctures of the game. That's the issue I have with Prescott.
So, Grant, do you think at this point in a quarterback's career like Dak with decision making, is that something that can be changed, or is that really ingrained into a player?
It could be changed. I mean, Tiki Barber was a guy that fumbled all the time, and Tom Coughlin became, or whoever it was that said that's not going to happen anymore. You're not going to play, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can, I guess, diminish. You can lower turnovers. Yes, you can do that, but your ability to read defenses and your decision making for a veteran quarterback like Prescott probably is not going to change all that much in one off season. That's how I look at it. I just don't see it happening. I just don't.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd be surprised, and he's got the pressure of the world on him with Jerry Jones wanting a championship. So, and the Dallas Star, you know how everybody looks at them.
Paul says, sounds like we're still not getting the respect par for the course. I guess I don't agree with that. I don't think that because you're not one of 10 teams playing on Christmas. You're one of the 20 teams that aren't. I mean, you're one of the 20 teams. Not, I don't think that means lack of respect. So I don't agree with you on that. And the reason why I say that is there are teams that play on Christmas Day every year, such as the Knicks, that don't deserve to be playing on Christmas Day. Maybe this year they do, but in the past they haven't. They're always on Christmas because of the market they're in. So I don't think respect really has anything to do with it. Yeah. All right. So Ace, thank you for this. Shams reported that the Christmas games are Bucks at Knicks, 76ers at Heat, Celtics at Lakers, Mavs at Suns, Warriors at Nuggets. There you have it. Thanks very much. I had not seen that by Shams. So those are the games. All right. Bucks, Knicks, I get. 76ers, Heat, I get. Celtics, Lakers, huge rivalry, I get.
Sure.
Mavs at Suns.
Luka
Again,
power.
Luka, but I don't think the Mavs are going to be that good this year. Warriors at Nuggets again. I can't argue with any of those games. So I can't really say that it's a lack of respect for Sacramento. I can't really argue with that lineup. I can't.
Sacramento gets a few rebounds in game 7, makes a few more shots. Maybe that game is theirs against the Nuggets on Christmas Day.
Yeah. But again, I don't. And Ace, thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. Said Shams reporting the Christmas games. Milwaukee at the Knicks, Sixers at Heat, Celtics at Lakers, Mavericks at Suns, Warriors at Nuggets. Again, I can't really fault that, And so what that means is that in all likelihood, Boston is going to be in Sacramento right around the Christmas holiday. Now, Boston will make more than one West Coast trip, but in all likelihood, the Celtics will be in Sacramento around the Christmas holiday. So keep that in mind. That's unofficial. That's just saying in all likelihood. All right? In all likelihood.
Well, the Kings are coming off of last year, right after Christmas, 2 tough games with the Nuggets. So Boston will be a nice test.
Yep. So, again, the schedule should be coming out in about a week. I'm looking at this next week when the schedule should be coming out. All right. So there you have it. Patrick says, sorry to bring up the Yankees, but did you hear about the Severino nonsense last night? The Yankees' entire franchise is nothing but nonsense. And until they get rid of Brian Cashman and change the way they do business, it's going to be the same thing year after year after year. I've talked about this now for 5 years at least more about Brian Cashman, and I do not understand why he still has a job at the Yankees. I don't get it. But, again, it is what it is. I have not watched a lot of baseball this year, so I'm not really sure about the Severino deal last night. I looked more into it, but nothing surprises me anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
tired of Aaron Boone getting kicked out of games and arguing. He got kicked out of the game the other night against Chicago on a pitch that was a perfect pitch that he came out and made a fool out of himself because he thought it was outside. It's just enough already, enough.
Yeah, and I hate to burst your bubble, partner, but Real GM is reporting that Brian Cashman is going to return for 2024.
And my question is why?
Why? Exactly. In good with the kids. In good with the kids in management.
Unbelievable. Incredible. Wow. All right. Well, baseball, there are some baseball fans, and
Yeah.
I just don't watch the game the way I used to, you know? Yeah, I did see they started Severino in the second. I didn't know what the deal was. I'll look more into it, Patrick. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Patrick, Yankees expert on the East Coast.
All right. You and I talked about this last week, and you were talking about Aaron Rodgers. Maybe you were talking about that on my Listen App show. You said you watched the first episode of Hard Knocks. What
Yeah,
was
I
it
did.
good? Because I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, Hard Knocks training camp with Aaron Rodgers. Pretty good first episode. But it's your basic Hard Knocks, gives you a decent glimpse into Aaron. Certainly, I think it was a little bit more sensationalized in terms of, focusing in on him and, the little things he's doing with his teammates. But all in all, it was a decent episode showcasing what could be for the Jets and the chemistry that they believe they have in the building right now.
Yeah, they're certainly in the mix, and that division is so difficult when you have Buffalo and Miami. And it's not like New England's chopped liver. That is really a hell of a division, isn't it?
Yeah, and even their schedule coming right out of the gate is very difficult as well, but that division's gonna be no joke, and again, it's a division where things could be possibly up in the air again with quarterback play. Buffalo seems to be the most consistent team, but Buffalo, Sean McDermott, he's on the hot seat too, Grant,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be interesting to see how that one plays out.
All right. This is kind of not necessarily football related, but it involves a guy that looked like he had a promising career, and that's Henry Ruggs, who was sentenced yesterday in a Las Vegas courthouse 3 to 10 years for his DUI. He pleaded for a vehicular manslaughter, which meant that the maximum sentence that he could receive would be 10 years. Had he not done that, it would have been maybe 20 or more years. Again, I understand the judicial system. I understand plea bargaining. I get all of that. Driving 156 miles per hour, crashing into the back of a car that takes the life of a young woman and her dog who burned to death, 3 to 10 years. Seems a little lenient to me.
Yeah, it does seem lenient to me as well. I mean, the court system's going to look at whether or not he has any other offenses, even if they're not DUI related when it comes to sentencing. But with everything going on and, athletes continuing to speed at high rates of speed, DUIs, you would think at some point their eyes would be open to a situation like this and maybe think twice before getting behind the wheel or having somebody else drive. But it seems to just be getting worse. And I really would have hoped that there would have been a stronger punishment without as wide of a range, Grant. 3 to 10
Yep.
years. That's a wide range for something as
Yep.
bad as happened with Henry Ruggs.
All right. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Bill Mushnick, who does it as well as anyone, I want you to read an excerpt from a column that just came out in the New York
Okay.
Post. Okay. Wednesday in Las Vegas, 2 NFL events occurred. Henry Ruggs III, a Raiders receiver out of the University of Alabama and the 12th overall pick in the 2020 draft, was sentenced to 3 to 10 years for the vehicular homicide of a 23-year-old Tina Tinter. She and her dog killed in the early morning when Ruggs slammed her Corvette or his Corvette into her car in November 2021 while he drove drunk at an estimated 156 miles per hour. Also, Wednesday in Vegas, the Raiders introduced Woodson Bourbon Whiskey, in parentheses, named after ex-Oakland Raiders star Charles Woodson, as the official bourbon of the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm not twisted enough to make this stuff up. How about that? Like you couldn't wait a week? Like your former star receiver, okay, in a courtroom in your city with all of the media attention on it, is sentenced for vehicular manslaughter. And on that day, you come out and release the official bourbon of the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, who makes these decisions, Ryan? Who's the idiot that said, let's do it the same day that Henry Ruggs is being sentenced? Like, you couldn't wait a week?
Inexcusable. What it tells me is they've already moved on from that situation, Grant. Presumably, they're not even tracking it anymore. He's out the door. It's not our dirty laundry. Just a terrible look. Really, really bad. I mean, you've got all off season to announce these things. Has to be that day. Inexcusable. Similar to what happened with Colin Cowherd
Oh,
earlier this week. Just a
yep.
really, really bad mistake.
Well, here's something else that Mushnick wrote in his column about Colin Cowherd, okay? And he said this: FS1's Colin Cowherd remains a bad joke among sports TV's bad jokes. Tuesday, he and his minions prepared a large graphic listing quarterbacks who can't win this season's Super Bowl, as if quarterbacks win games all by themselves. Cowherd did get one quarterback incontrovertibly correct. Did I say that right? Incontrovertibly correct. Dwayne Haskins. He was killed last year when hit by a truck. I'm glad Mushnick's calling him out. That can't happen. That's just unbelievable to me.
To me, it seems like Phil Mushnick is just one of the handful of guys that's calling Colin Cowherd out. I mean,
Yes.
for what we hear from, other broadcasters that make mistakes or have a slip of the tongue, presumably in their punishments, and how big of a deal it is, somebody does that on national TV, on a simulcast national radio, and it's just not a big deal, brushed over on the air in the next day. Do you know, Grant, did Cowherd even apologize for the air?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So
I
I specifically
unbelievable.
tuned in. Yeah, I tuned into the show specifically, and I'm not a Cowherd guy, just to see if there would be any mention, and I did not see a mention of it. So just a bad gab. And you said this on the Listen App show. That was Colin's fault, not a
Yep.
producer's. That
That's
ultimately
exactly right.
falls on him.
All right, this message: Aaron Boone has been ejected for the 6th time this season. It was his 32nd time being ejected in his 6-year managerial career. Long way to go to get over Bobby Cox, 162 games ejected. All right, so the reason why that will never happen is because arguing between managers and umpires has been reduced greatly because of instant replay. When Bobby Cox managed, there was no replay. So you couldn't just go and sit there and wait for a decision, and it was rectified. So that those numbers will never be surpassed. The Earl Weavers, the Bobby Cox, that's not going to happen. Not going to be happen. Just not.
And and on a little side note there, I don't think those arguments with the umpires will ever be surpassed either. It feels like the arguments with the umpires now are weak, not like I remembered them growing up with the old school managers.
Incredible. Unbelievable. Wow. Really. I'll tell you, Mushnick writes about everything. He even wrote about that, and I just love it that he is not afraid to call it the way it is. I don't know if you saw the video the other day of John Carlos Stanton trying to run home from second base? I
No,
mean,
I did not.
it was embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. He said this past Saturday, Giancarlo Stanton surpassed even his minimal standard, slowing from his usual jog to a walk in order to be tagged out at home. When Stanton was signed by the Yankees for a then record $218 million, he'd already established himself as a conspicuous laggard with the Marlins. If I knew, why didn't the Yankees? Or didn't they care? With Miami in 2016, he wrecked his groin and helped end the club's postseason chances when he jogged to first, then realizing his fly to right had been dropped, tried to make it to second with an awkward, stumbling slide. But why learn from that? He remains a one-trick, home run or nothing, $218 million pony, and he's so fragile, there's the alibi that comes attached to Stanton's disinclination to play fundamentally winning baseball that the next day, manager Aaron Boone started him in right field. Not such a great look. Boone, the pandering minimalist who only gets tough with umpires, even conceded that Stanton's capitulation between third and home wasn't a great look, bringing to mind former Mets executive Sandy Alderson's take on Jonas Cespedes playing golf while on the disabled list as creating a bad optic. You remember that? When
Yes, I do.
Cespedes was playing golf and
Yeah.
he said it's a bad optic. Mush writes and continues, by the way, Boone's tantrum in the face of home plate ump Laz Diaz Monday against the White Sox wasn't supported by what I witnessed, watching every pitch, both live and on DVR. An examination showed the Yankees to be beneficiaries of at least as many close calls as Chicago. In fact, the White Sox walked 8 Yankees. The White Sox walked 8 Yankees while they walked only 2 Chicago batters. The Yankees telecast on Yes last Saturday was from the 5th inning until the end, the best of the season, but only for the wrong reason. Technical difficulties erased the all-game presence of that wildly inaccurate and distracting computerized strike zone pitch box, providing viewers a rare, clear view of live baseball. Imagine that. Never have more of this column's readers and responders rejoiced over the failure of advanced technology.
I'll tell
Hey.
you what, nobody is safe with Phil Mushnick. No one.
He's the best, man.
He
I'm
is
telling you
great.
right now. Oh my
Holy
gosh.
moly.
Wow. Man. Wow.
Great stuff.
Keep, keep the messages. By the way, if you didn't see the video, you got to look at the video of Stanton running from second to home. I mean, it's your son is 8 now, right?
Yes, he 9.
9. Your
Almost.
son would have lapped Stanton. Okay, your son would have been able to go from second to home, okay, and then probably turn around, go to third, and then second again, and touch second before Stanton was able to get to home. That's how bad it was, and he got thrown out. He got thrown out at home by such a wide margin. He just stopped. He didn't even bother sliding or anything. I mean, but you just you when we get done here, you've got to Google it, okay? You would not believe it. You just won't believe it. You know?
You'd think it was backyard baseball and like just done playing.
Well, unbelievable. I got a question. This question is, who would you take for a manager of your favorite? Would you take Aaron Boone, Gabe Kapler, or none of the above? I think Boone and Kapler would be the equivalent of Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I wouldn't take either of those guys. I think there are better candidates out there for the Yankees. I haven't even really thought about, who I would hire, but I probably wouldn't be either of those guys. Wow, man, unbelievable. All right, keep the questions coming. don't forget about the restaurant Bennett's West Side Grill is open at the Blue Oaks Town Center. I was messaging Brian yesterday, the owner of Bennett's West Side Grill, and he just said things are going great. Get out there. I will be there several times next month. Ryan, you'll be out there with me as well. We'll do a couple lunches out there,
Yep.
and I'm really looking forward to being there. You can go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com and check out their menu, prime seafood and steak. I'll be out there with Jerry Reynolds. I will be out there with some others as well. I'll be making a lot of appearances out at Bennett's West Side Grill. 3 locations, Sacramento, Roseville, and now Rockland. Man, I miss that food. I miss it.
Oh, yeah. You're making me hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great. All right, so we have football. You want to go basketball? The Christmas Day Shams put out who the
Sure.
games are. Does not include the Kings. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with the 10 teams selected. I really don't. The fact that Dallas is playing at Phoenix, I don't have a good read on Dallas this year. I mean, they're one of those teams, Ryan, that could be real good or real bad. They really could.
Yeah. It's all going to come down to the chemistry with Kyrie and Luca, and I guess, they pulled the dogs off of everybody last year at the end of the season, but it's going to be good. It's going to be bad. It's probably going to be up and down, Grant, even if it is good and bad. So we'll see how it plays. I could see that game out of the Christmas Day schedule being the one that could be a dud.
All right, this one from Kim. Grant, have you thought about doing the radio format that you had in Sacramento? This seems a little boring. Well, I don't think it's boring, but you're certainly entitled to your opinion. And I do a radio format show several times a week over on Listen app. Go to your Play Store or Google Play Store or your app, whatever, Apple Store, and download Listen app. Or you can go to listenapp.co, that's C-O, and you can listen to my radio format style show where people call in with live phone calls. You just use the app. I had an excellent show yesterday. We went for an hour and had a lot of phone calls, had a lot of fun. Tomorrow, I will be on Listen app. So you will have an opportunity. Thank you for the message, Kim. Just go download Listen app. Easy to do. And you can listen to my show anywhere at any time, just on the app. And it's as easy to call in. You just hit with a little hand icon. It's like a hand that looks like this on your screen. Hit that. And then I say, okay, now joining us is Kim. Kim, how are you? And you're on with Grant Napier. So what do you think, Kim? You going to listen to me tomorrow? Listen app? What do you think? You all in? But thank you for your support. I appreciate that. All right. I will tell you that we have been nothing but 100% ethical with the merchandise. We did have a few that some reason did not get their shirts. So I'm going to put this up on the screen for you, and I want you to send me an email, all right? Because I can guarantee you have not sent me an email, because if you had sent me an email, I would have looked into it, and I personally would refund your money, or Ryan, okay?
Yep.
No one's been left hanging with, like, I got ripped off. That's not how I operate. It's not how Ryan operates. That's not what I'm about, okay? I've actually given people more money when I've sent their money back. One individual was so nice and had such an issue that I actually sent him an extra $25 and said, listen, I would like you to go out and have lunch on me. So I sent him an extra 25 because of the troubles and how disappointed he was. So, I'm just letting you know, you didn't go to the proper channels, just like any merchant, okay, and any customer. If you have a problem, you reach out, okay? I'm never going to screw anybody out of a dime. So all you need to do is reach out. Paul says I can vouch for that. Thank you very much. I think anyone that had an issue, and Ryan, again, I'm not calling anyone out. Ryan actually hand delivered a good number of shirts. One of the individuals that he hand delivered the shirt to and left it at their door said he never received the shirt. Okay. Ryan actually hand delivered it. So,
Yep.
and we still refunded the money. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, again, I'm sorry for that. Okay. But I'm not going to ever defraud anybody or cheat anyone out of a dime. That's not who I am. So send me an email. Please send me an email, and I will personally make sure, Nathan, that you get a refund. All right. And I don't recall getting an email from you, Nathan. All right. gnapier@gmail.com, and we'll take care of it. Every single person that had a problem has been taken care of. Everyone. Thank you. All right. Cody, list all the New York Giants receivers, and they have a lot of them. It will be very interesting to see who makes the team. Not all those guys are going to be on the team. All right. It's going to be very interesting. It's called competition, and that is good. That is
And
good.
and attrition with the
Yeah.
preseason. We're seeing somebody
Yeah.
go down every day.
It's not even an honest mistake. It might be from Nathan, but from us, I'm not going to call out the postal department. But what I'm saying is there are things that don't make it in the mail sometimes. Okay. And we had some people who go, oh, I had to change my address, or then I moved, or we had all kinds of stuff. All right. And it happens. So here's what I'm going to do this fall when I have new merchandise. We're going to be removed from this. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to use a professional third party where when you go to the website and order, they take care of it. They handle everything. And I will make a extremely small profit, if any profit at all, but I don't care. I want to get my merch out, and it will be done rather quickly. So we're going to change the system around because, and I mean this, I'm grateful for those of you that bought shirts. Okay. But I will speak for Ryan. It ended up being a major pain in the ass. I mean, I'm just calling it the way it is. Okay. And the reason why it became a major pain in the ass is because issues arose that had nothing to do with Ryan or I or me. It had nothing to do with Ryan and me. And so I'm taking those issues out because I'm speaking for Ryan. He's got a family. He works. Okay. I've got tons of things going on. And because I'm not in the area currently, it's very difficult for me to handle it. So we're just going to take ourselves out of it and go to a third party, a professional that does this. And the cost won't be any more for you. It'll just be less for me. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Good quality shirts. Thank you. My shirt holding up pretty well after a few washes. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And this says good move on the part of the merchandise. Absolutely. And you know what? It's part of the learning experience of doing this. I've never done this before. I never sold merch. Okay. And I was trying to do it the best way we made an error. I wouldn't say it was a big mistake, because we had our best intent at front, where Ryan goes, no, I'm going to hand deliver some of these. I'm going to, our intentions were good. We didn't realize okay, all the issues that could pop up. So appreciate it, and I really mean that. I appreciate all of you that ordered shirts, and those of you that were patient for whatever reason when you didn't get your shirt, and how we made every effort for you to get your shirts. And then when you didn't, I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm going to refund your money. And oh, by the way, if your shirt still arrives at some point, you don't owe me the money back. All right. So there you have it.
Absolutely. And even using a third party, Grant, I think I'm safe stepping in. We learned a lot from last year.
Yes.
So I think that going forward, please, I would ask that you give Grant another chance on that, because we were trying our absolute best, and we will make it right, as Grant said. So
I might even have hats come out or coffee mugs this year. All right. So there are things that I can do depending on the interest. If that's something that you would like, I'd be more than happy to do it. And I can release it. Like, for instance, let's say right around the week of Thanksgiving. So if you want to give it to someone for, a holiday gift or what have you, that's when I would probably do it. Okay. So thank you very much. Appreciate, and again, I really mean this. Thank you for all of you out there that wanted merchandise, got it, and gave us some really good compliments. We sold a lot of the shirts on our watch party locations. That went over very well. But even that, we had to carry big boxes of shirts, and then we got all the different sizes, and we're going. It's not as easy as we thought it would be. It just it wasn't. But we'll make it right.
We'll
We'll
make
make
it
it right.
right.
Yeah,
We've learned
absolutely.
from the experience.
Yeah, we did. And again, if you had a problem, Nathan, I'm going to put it up for you one more time. Nathan, send me an email, okay? Send me an email and I will make it right, okay? No problem. All right? I don't want you to be upset or feel like you got taken advantage of. That's not how Ryan and I roll. Ryan and
Nope.
me aren't like that, all right? All right. So, stickers, probably not. I don't know.
Napes, you would look good on a bumper, don't you think?
Maybe we could just include it with whatever order they get. We'll just throw it in, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Little thank you.
absolutely.
All right, back to
What the
basketball. Grant,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Kings now
yes,
have
yes,
four centers on the roster with a standard contract
I
signed by
know.
Neemias Queta. What are the Kings doing, and what are your thoughts on the move, Napes?
Listen, you can only have X number of players on your roster and two-way players, so not everybody's gonna be on the roster, and with him, if you feel that he's got potential and you like the way he developed last year in Stockton, then there's really not much of a risk to see if you can develop him further. Because I'm not a Nerlens Noel guy. I think Nerlens Noel is just a body, and I don't think he's anything more than that.
Yeah, and I think these are all low risk moves for the
Yeah.
most part. You have two contracts reportedly not guaranteed,
Yep.
or you have low guarantees
Low
with
guarantees.
Noel. Yes, excuse me on that. With Noel and Kada. So it's really and if they thrive, Grant, let's say all of them thrive, then guess what? The Kings have bargaining power. They still need a
Yep.
backup point guard. So let them go to camp. Let them see what happens. Grant, one more two-way roster spot remains open. Does it have to go to a point guard?
It depends on how you feel your other guards, uh, can they handle the ball? Can they run the offense if you need them to run the offense? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I think you do, yes. I think you do.
Yeah, we've been proponents of that solid veteran backup
Yeah.
point guard for this team. But a lot of fans would like to see that contract go to Jordan Ford, who played well during the summer, been with the
Yep.
Stockton Kings. So we'll
Yep.
see how that plays out. But
Local kid.
local kid, absolutely. St. Mary's product. So should be an exciting camp for young guys. This team's set up for the future very well.
He went to Folsom High School, right?
Went to Folsom High and then St.
Yeah.
Mary's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty amazing. Pretty
Pretty
amazing.
cool. Yep.
Yeah, it is
Local
cool.
kid.
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, that would be good. But you can't be doing this because someone's the area that they're from and he's got a lot of supporters. You got to do it because you feel like he can play at this level. So we'll see. Monty McNair hasn't really made too many mistakes. So you have to feel pretty confident in what he's doing.
Very confident. I mean,
Yeah.
certainly that front office has a vision, and that vision is in progress and has played out very well to this point. And the Kings don't make emotional moves. They've showed that since Monty McNair
Mhm.
has been in the front office.
Kim, not a problem. I'm happy that you messaged me. All right. No problem. If you think this show's a little bit boring, it's a different format because we're not taking calls. And for those that can't read the comment, it says, "Sorry, Grant, for the comment, but boring. But listening to your program at KHTK, it was fast paced. But I will listen to your new platform. Thank you. Well, Listen App's similar to what you heard in Sacramento. A lot of calls, moving along, and give it a listen tomorrow, Kim, and then let me know what you think. I'll tell you what, Kim, I would love it if you would call into the show tomorrow if you
Yeah,
can do it. All right.
that would be
So
great. And
I think you'll really find it interesting what we do.
And Kim, I'm going to read between the lines as well. If you stick around long enough, you might get a rant out of Grant on this platform. So
That's right.
hang in
That's
there.
that's right. Hang in there. And on Wednesdays on Listen App, we have a thing called Open Forum Wednesday, where we talk about anything, not just
Anything.
sports. So that's interesting. And I can get a little interesting too, Kim. That's my Open Forum Wednesday show. And on Wednesdays during the football season, we have a fantasy football roundtable where I can get 5, 6, 7, 8 people all on at the same time, and I moderate it. And someone will ask a question. Hey, I've got this guy and this guy coming up this week. What do you guys think? Who do you think I should play? And I'll go, all right, let's go to Cody. Cody, what would you do? All right, Ryan, who you taking out of these two? John, let's get to you. What do you think? And you get different opinions, you get different reasoning, and we have a lot of fun with that. So that's going to be on Wednesdays again during the football season.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And there's other great things on the show. And Kim, if you were a listener before, a lot of the guys and gals that used to call into Grant's show in Sacramento are a part of that Listen App show
Yep.
Regularly. So come join us.
Where has Sean Salisbury been on Mondays? I tabled Sean's show until September for football season due to lack of content. I just felt like, I don't want to waste Sean's time talking about nothing. There's nothing going on right now. And I really mean that. This is from the middle of July to Labor Day is the slowest time of the year. And I was like, I don't want to waste Sean. So we're going to start up again in September. Iron Eagle is coming on right here on Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific. So 1 o'clock Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, right here on If You Don't Like That. And Ryan, he won't have any problem logging on right with that link, right? Boom, boom, boom.
Boom,
He's
boom,
not
boom.
Jerry.
He is not Jerry.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. As long as he's not doing the show from Jerry Reynolds' house with his internet and IT, we're good.
Oh my God. I'm looking forward to that. I am really looking forward to having Iron Eagle on here on Monday. All right. Oh
It's
my
going to be a
gosh.
fun conversation, Grant. So much to go over with Ian.
There's one. Trust me, Kim, I got a rant a while back. I deserved the rant for a remark I had a couple of weeks ago. I did get on him yes, I did. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. All right. A lot of people down on the Giants right now. Giants are playing terrible. It says offense is just not there. Blames the GM for this. And now we have Pollock on the DL. Giants have had really bad luck with injuries. They really have had bad luck with injuries. Thank you, Lydia, for that. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, their luck has not been good, but on top of that, Grant, they're a young team. Giants fans knew that coming into the season, so that compounds things. But
could be worse. You could be a Padres fan.
Right there, exactly right. Paying through
What a
the
mess
roof.
they are, right?
Oh boy, oh boy. You think they want to take back some of those contracts right now?
The Yankees and the Padres are two examples of how not to put a team together.
I kind of have to disagree there because that's been the Yankees formula for the longest time. It's go out, get the big stars. We're about to see it again with Ohtani if they make a chase for him. So why is that not working right now for the Yankees?
Because the philosophy of the Yankees is we're going to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and we're okay if we strike out 15 times a game. And we're gonna take the biggest of our contracts. And outside of, Judge, we're going to give it to our pitchers. And then what happens? Pitchers break down and they can't perform. The only guy that's really performed well is Garrett Cole. And so I just think the strategy of putting the team together, they don't have enough players that can put the ball in play. And I don't think you can win in baseball if you don't put the ball in play. And they don't put the ball in play. I mean, it's a joke. So I just think the formula for the way they have gone about and building their team, I don't think you win with that type of philosophy. I don't think you win. I understand that home runs are kind of like the 3-point shot in the NBA, but if you can't move a runner from first to second and second to third and third to home, and you can't hit the ball and put it into play, and the Yankees never put any pressure on the defense because the ball's never in play. The defense, they don't put any pressure on the defense. I want a team that puts pressure on my defense. Yankees don't do that.
Sure, and I would also add to that, Grant, the Yankees would always it seemed like they would bring in other established guys that have been winners on other teams that might
Yeah.
not be huge names, but very, very solid MLB careers, and they produce
Yep.
well for them, and it
Yep.
just doesn't seem that way.
Well, again, I'm looking at the Yankees and I'm looking at the Padres, and give me two teams in each, right? National League, American League. Give me two teams that are more disappointing than that.
I think HSU Power says it right now, the Mets. Can you think of a bigger teardown after a buildup for a team? I think they've got to be right up there. Um,
Yeah, he says, good point. Grant, the Padres, the Mets, and the Yankees are a few teams that are underachieving up to this point of the season. I thought the Mets' downfall started in the World Baseball Classic when they lost Edwin Diaz for the year,
mm,
their great closer. That was a bad omen. That happened right before the season with his celebration when he blew out his knee and he
that's
was
right.
lost for the year. And from that point forward, Ryan, it's been all downhill for the Mets.
Yeah, and credit to them, Grant. They knew that it was not going to work, and they started taking the team apart sooner rather than later, and
Yeah.
we're up front with that New York market. But great point about Diaz.
Jay says, as a Padres fan, this has been a very disappointing year. I can't even imagine being a Padres fan. And then, I saw Juan Soto yesterday come out and say they gave up against the Mariners. And Manny Machado had some bad things to say about the way the team played in that game and that it's unacceptable. And, I'm a Bob Melvin fan. I thought Bob Melvin was a great manager with the A's. Not good. I thought he was great. He got the most out of that player. I think that the Padres have a group of players, and it's interesting because I've watched the Padres play twice in the last 2 years, both in Miami. And so I watched the Padres and the Marlins. And the reason why I went to the games is I had friends umpiring in both series on back-to-back years. So it just turned out in each year I've watched the Padres. And I said to my one friend, I said, is it just me or do the Padres just bitch and complain at everything? And he goes, oh, they're the worst in the league. I go, worst in the league? He goes, yeah. I'm like, man, I just was watching the game, and I don't watch the Padres play a lot, and
Yeah.
I'm just watching him complain after every single thing, and I'm like, he goes, oh yeah, they're the worst, and I'm just like, yeah, you know, it looked like they were the worst. 2 years ago, I'm watching Tatis and then Machado, and they're arguing all the freaking time, literally all the time, and then other players chirping, and I'm just like, God, shut up and play the game. And he goes, oh yeah, they're the worst. I was just like, I don't like that. And again, I'm not saying that's why they're losing, but it just seems like they're not really all in on what they're supposed to be doing, and that's playing baseball. It just seems like
So
there's a lot of big egos on that team, and I think it's getting in the way of winning. That's how I look at the Padres.
So you bring up an interesting point. So when you have your stars from the top down that are setting that tone on the field, constantly arguing,
Yeah.
how much of a barometer is that for the clubhouse, for the locker room, with the entire club?
I'm not in the locker room, so I'm only guessing, but I don't think it's harmonious and I don't think it's good. And I think a manager needs to stop that. And I know that if I managed a team, I wouldn't tolerate that. I would say, hey, I'm the manager. I'll do the arguing for you. I'm okay if you argue occasionally, but not all the time, not at every at bat, not at every play. Shut up and play the game. Get off the umpires' backs. I'll handle that. You play. I'll take care of the umpires. I mean, and someone said, sounds like Draymond Green. Basketball is a different dynamic. And the reason why I say basketball is a different dynamic is it's gotten out of hand in the NBA where almost every player on every team. And that's another thing I love about Keegan Murray,
Mhm.
and Harrison Barnes. Those guys just go out and play. And they let Mike Brown, who's gotten tossed, who doesn't have any problem sticking up for his players, they let Mike Brown do their talking. And here's something else that all players need to remember. Robots are not on the field with them. Human beings are on the court and on the field with these athletes. And human beings are emotional too, and they have memories. And you and I were talking about this the other day. There are calls that can go either way. They're called in the
Mhm.
gray area. Okay. A pitch that's very close. If you call it a ball, no one's probably going to bitch. If you call it a strike, no one's probably going to bitch. It's that close. Subconsciously, guy's been giving you a hard time. Maybe you don't give him the benefit of the doubt.
Mhm.
Basketball, same thing.
Mhm.
This call could go either way. Subconsciously, you got a guy that's complaining and bitching at you all game every time you referee their game. Subconsciously, you may make a call that goes against that individual, right? So
Yeah.
players need to understand that. And I don't think enough players do. I will tell you this, and I don't have any problem, that I used to have officials, some by the way are now retired, so I'm going to be very open with you, that told me that they dreaded coming in to announce Kings games because of DeMarcus Cousins. That it was such a pain in the ass to officiate a Kings game because he had no respect for the officials, talked to the officials disrespectfully, and complained on every single call. And it wore on the officials. Officials don't want to deal with that. They have a hard enough job as it is. They have a very difficult job as it is. Now you have a player that's being disrespectful, yelling, complaining all the time. Officials don't want that. And they knew that when you were going to officiate a game with the Kings, that was what you were going to have to deal with. They didn't enjoy it. And for the most part, officials really like what they do. They didn't enjoy doing a Kings game for that reason. And I know that because they used to tell me that.
Yeah, it's not surprising. We've heard the stories. Kings fans have seen it play out for years with DeMarcus. But speaking about that gray area and nuance, I also have to think there's also a gray area with calls where if a guy is getting on a ref, but the ref knows that it was a bad call, or the ref knows that, you know what, yeah, maybe I need to think about that. I could see an area where you're earning credibility. Now, when you're somebody like DeMarcus or a Luka, where the ball's clearly out of bounds and you're saying, no, 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 replay it. And you're in the ref's ear constantly. That's a whole different story.
It is a different story. And you and I talked about this on Listen Up. It's very common for officials that make mistakes during a game, particularly in basketball in the first half. They go back and they look. Joe Crawford was the best referee in the league for years. And I was
Mm-hmm.
on the court at halftime when the teams were warming up. I had come. We were on a break, and I saw Joe go up to a player and said, "Hey, man, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. You were right. I got it wrong. My bad." Officials do that, and players do that too. I've had my baseball
Yeah.
friends that are umpires tell me that, they've rung up a player, kicked him out for arguing balls and strikes or a call on the bases or whatever, and the player will come up to him the next day, or even the next at bat and say, "Hey, my bad, you got that right. I went and looked at the
Yeah.
video in the clubhouse. My bad. I'm sorry, man. And the umpires, they're okay with that. They're like, don't worry about it. It's all good. We're the games are played and officiated by human beings. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. Nobody. So, mistakes are made. And when you as an official can own up to your mistake, you gain the respect of
Sure.
the players. They're like, okay, he listened to me. She listened to me. And it just makes them feel they were like, okay, I was heard, and they admitted they made a mistake. But it needs to go both ways. And a lot of the players do say that to officials. They go, hey, my bad. I'm sorry, man. I was wrong. Happens, you know? I don't think a lot of fans really understand that.
And I'm glad you explained it, because I think that that's a valid part of the game. And I think the human part of the game is very important to most of these games.
Uh-huh.
Taking it out could affect a lot as we kind of view sports and know sports. It's different for everybody. But going back to Keegan, I got to ask you this, because to me, I would like to see a little bit more fire from Keegan. I get that the even keel is really, really good, calm and composed, but don't you kind of want to see a little bit of that aggression too come out at times?
All right. I'm gonna compare him to a player that, as of right now, it's not fair to compare him to, but I'm comparing personalities.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to compare him to a player that was not good, but great. And before I give you the name of the player, I've always felt your personality is your personality. What did I tell you when you wanted to do this? I said, Ryan, don't try to be me. Don't try to be Bob Costas. Don't try to be Iron Eagle, be yourself.
Yep.
Your personality, Jim Rome is Jim Rome. Okay. Jim Rome's personality on the air, that's Jim Rome off the air. Okay. Chris Russo is great at what he does because he's Chris Russo. He's not trying to be someone else. I don't try to be someone else. I'm Grant all the time. Keegan Murray's personality is Harrison Barnes' personality.
Mm-hmm.
You can't change who you are. Just like Bill Belichick, people say doesn't have any fire because he just stands on the sideline. Tom Landry, the great coach of the Dallas Cowboys for all those years, was as stoic as any coach in the history of the NFL and won Super Bowls. Did that mean he didn't care? No. I don't think that matters. Did you see Tim Duncan get animated on the floor? Did you see Tim Duncan show a lot of fire when he played? He pretty much just went through, played, didn't show a lot of emotion, and was one of the great forwards in the history of the game.
Yeah,
Did
and
you
doing
watch?
that,
So I'm
doing that with it.
comparing Keegan Murray's personality to Tim Duncan's. Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we make too much out of an individual not getting upset or getting upset, and I can go on and on. I've never judged or wanted an athlete to change who they are. I'll give you another example, and I'm a fan of his, and there are two players, Derek Jeter and Eli Manning, both kings of New York sports. Okay. Tell me a time when you saw Eli Manning ever look animated to you on the field or on the bench, or Derek Jeter. And they were
Very rarely.
okay. Why? Because that's their personality. Now, I heard, and there it's been well documented, that in meetings and in the locker room, Eli was very much animated and joking and all of that. I don't need to see that on the court, on the field. I think that we make too much out of that. That's all I'm going to say.
I think that's a fair point, Grant. If it is in fact your personality on and off the field, absolutely, that makes complete sense. I think it's me speaking as a fan. We're used to seeing that fired up. It is good to be true to who you are and always being yourself. But I can't argue with Tim Duncan. I can't argue with Eli Manning. And if I'm not saying, like you said, Keegan could be that great or is that great right now. But if he's on that track or has a similar mindset as those guys, that's a huge positive. I
All
would
right,
say
you've
that's more
watched.
different than most guys.
All right, a lot of us have watched the Netflix series Quarterback from last year.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is so animated and pumped up, and right, not everyone's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not even talking about ability now. I'm talking about personality. You saw the same thing with Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
If you had, everyone's different, but those guys are being themselves. They're not trying to be someone they grew up and they're trying to emulate personality wise. You can emulate somebody on how they play, but you can't emulate someone personality wise because then you're a phony. We're all different. We all have different emotions. Some are crazy and some are calm and some are wild or animated or loud, and then some are extroverted, some are introverted, right? I mean, I'm using all kinds of different
Sure.
adjectives that describe the two adjectives are introverted and extroverted. And yet there are many extroverted and many introverted personalities that have been at the top of their professions, and they all do it differently. So I just have never been one to say, boy, I wish this player would do this or do that or be this or be that. Because you are who you are, you can't be a phony.
Yeah, and you're right on. And as I take a little bit more of a step back looking at it, it is more worrisome again if you are being a different player, different person. But there is a style of leadership that can come from that
Mhm.
with being yourself and encouraging. So I totally agree with what you're saying.
Joe Montana was another one. You didn't see Joe Montana get animated that much on the football field. He was calm Joe, and he was, just doing what he
Eh,
did.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe it's an assumption too, Grant, because you bring up introvert, extrovert. Maybe it's the assumption that because you're playing in front of 20,000 people 3, 4 times a week in basketball, that there's no way this person can be an introvert, right? They have
Yep.
to, you wouldn't be able to do that as an introvert, but it is just a game to some people. It's sometimes more important to the fans than it can be to the players.
I heard Dennis Rodman, because I used to talk to Derek Dickey about this all the time, was the most quiet, unassuming guy off the court that you can't believe it was the same guy on the court. So, now I don't know whether, I mean, I got the feeling that Dennis was always Dennis, but he wasn't necessarily like that on the bus and in the locker room and everything like that. Hey, if you have any plumbing issues, New Works Plumbing is the place. SackServicePlumbing.com, or call the number on your screen. New Works Plumbing, they have a fix for you. All right. Now, do us a favor if you have not already subscribed to the channel. We would appreciate it. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up, the like button. And on Monday, Iron Eagle. Can't wait to have Iron on. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock on the East Coast. And for those of you that said you unsubscribed because you didn't like my rant 2 days ago about the United States women's soccer team and the tweet put up by Joe Biden and the White House, I'm okay with that. Okay. I thought it was just awful, to single out a team that was so bad, and the way it was written, and someone said, well, he didn't write it. Well, it had his name attached to it. It was still the wrong message. Okay. And I'm not ripping the office of the president of the United States and the individual. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care whether you're on the left or the right. I don't care if you voted. I don't care if you didn't vote. I didn't vote. I didn't vote for Joe Biden. I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I don't have any problem telling you that. It's my right as an American to vote or not vote. It's not my duty. It's my right. I exercised my right, and I didn't want to vote because I didn't approve of either candidate. So I didn't vote. I didn't want to go in and do that. All right. I had to rationalize my mind, my decision as an American to either exercise that duty or not. And I didn't want to vote for either. So if anyone can make a political statement, I would think it's me. Okay. Because I didn't vote for either candidate.
Yep.
But for those of you that reached out, and I read the comments and like ripped me to shreds and said you're unsubscribing because of my comment. And if you're watching right now, I'm gonna say this without thinking about what I'm going to say, because I'm doing it spontaneously. You're the problem with the United States. You're the reason why our country is in the state that it's in, because you're not willing to take a step back and examine comments and look at things from a different perspective. You don't have to agree with me, but you do have to at least try to look at the perspective of what I was trying to say. But there are too many people in our country that are so close-minded, okay, that they don't want to hear anything if it is negative about the candidate that they voted for. And that's the problem with this country, okay? Nobody's perfect. Politicians particularly, right? They deserve to be criticized. I'm okay with you having a debate about what Biden tweeted. I'm okay. I don't agree with it. I think it was embarrassing for the office, okay? Again, I'm not on the left. I'm not on the right. I would vote for any candidate, regardless of political party, if I thought that individual was the best person for the country. Democrat, Republican, Independent, wouldn't matter to me. I don't care. I would not care at all. If I thought that was the best individual for the country, I would vote for that person. But for those of you that are so close-minded that because I used and called out the president and the United States women's national team, called them both out, and you couldn't handle that, shame on you. Shame on you. You're the reason, you're the reason why this country is in such despair. It's because you're so close-minded, you will refuse to look at another point of view. You don't have to agree with it, but you got to look at it. So for those of you that did unsubscribe, shame on you. There you go. That's a mini rant. There you have it.
Well said, Napes.
All right, buddy. You ready to do this again next week?
Let's do it. Can't wait.
That was a good hour, huh?
It was. It went quick. And
Yep.
hopefully we'll have Kim on Listen App tomorrow. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I hope so. I really do. And Peter says still here. Peter, if you are one of those that reached out, thank you. I'm glad that you're still there. And if you're the one that said you weren't going to subscribe to my channel, but Peter, if you are one of those, and again, I can't remember, you need to just have, dialogue. Like, let's have communication in this country. There's not enough communication anymore because everyone is so dead set on anti-Trump, anti-Biden that we can't get anything accomplished in this country. Look at different points of view. I'm not saying you have to vote for Trump or have to vote for Biden or anything, but I mean, just have some dialogue. You know, I just don't understand that. I just don't understand that. And we get a lot of comments, so I'll read some. Great point, Grant. This country is so divided right now. The sad part is that the new scarlet letters in this country, either R or D, depending on what side you're on. Disgusting, in my opinion. I agree it is. I mean, we have a choice in this country. You want to be a Democrat? Be a Democrat. You want to be a Republican? Be a Republican. I got to tell you, I got friends that are both liberal and conservative, and I love them to death. And I don't agree with everything that they agree with, but they're still my friends, and I still respect them. And respect is the key word. My brother and I are a lot different politically. I love my brother. He has a completely different viewpoint than mine. That's okay. We
Yep.
talk about it. I don't disown him as a family member. I just don't understand that. I really don't understand that. All right, enough.
Well,
People say they don't want me to talk about politics, but I want to point that out because there were some people that said, "Oh, you just lost me. I'm unsubscribing from your
yeah.
channel." You're unsubscribing me because of my rant? Really? Like, grow
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I'm just going to add this briefly, not even going to get political. I think one of the barriers that's putting more inflammation on the scarlet letters and the problem is the keyboard sitting in front of everybody right now.
Mhm.
Have a conversation face to face with
Yep.
somebody. It's a lot different than being a keyboard warrior.
Yep. Absolutely. On that note, we'll wrap it up. You enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, my friend. Thank you very
You,
much for joining me. I enjoyed it.
thank you for having me. Great time as always, Napes.
All right, that's Ryan in Sactown. And again, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button because we're real here, and I don't mind calling it the way I see it. I always will. I don't like talking about politics, but again, I didn't vote. So like if anyone should be able to talk about and rip a politician, it should be me. I didn't even vote. And I've ripped people on both sides. I've ripped Trump, I've ripped Biden. I mean, if I think something is wrong and it needs to be talked about as it relates to sports, then I'm going to talk about it. I didn't attack the president over anything other than a sports related topic. It had to do with sports. Well, I covered it. If you don't like that, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But now all of a sudden you're going to unsubscribe because you don't like a rant other that I made on the United States women's soccer team and the president. Really? Are you that shallow? I mean, come on. Stop it already. Would you please? All right. You have a good one. Thank you very much for being right here on If You Don't Like That. Listen out.